Kevin agreed to be sent to prison to help Officer Emmett get information from Brett Stewart about the Myriads activities in Chicago. He saved Stewart from getting killed by Merriweather while he slept. Now Kevin just wanted to get the intel and leave. Kevin slowly walked up to Stewart and knelt down next to him. He gently patted his back a few times and asked him, "Are you okay, man?" "Thank you for saving my life. I owe you one," Stewart said gratefully, and he meant it. "No problem. I'm just a light sleeper. You should get some rest." He saw that Stewart was okay now, so he went back to bed. Kevin knew that if he acted too eager, Stewart would be suspicious of him. He had to take it slow so Stewart wouldn't think he was being set up. Seeing Kevin take the whole thing in stride like this made Stewart even more interested in him. He walked over to his bed and sat down. "Where are you from, bro? You're not like the other guys. How'd you end up here?" "I got drunk and hit someone." "I'm Brett Stewart. What's your name? As long as we're stuck in this place, we might as well be friends." After hearing this, Kevin immediately sat up in his bunk. He controlled his excitement and started chatting with Stewart casually. When he found out that Kevin was the bad apple in the Jones family, Stewart took to him right away and told him, "Don't let all this get you down. With your skills, you could really go places." 3 days later, Kevin's grandfather, Randall Williams, was sitting in an armchair at the family's mansion in New York. Sitting on a chair next to him was a middle-aged man in a business suit. He had put his pharmaceutical sample case on the coffee table in front of them. But there was something about him that was a little too menacing for him to be a simple pharmaceutical rep.
"May I ask why you called me to New York on such short notice?"
the man asked in a deep voice.
"Please, this is a serious matter, Mr. Roundtree. One of my grandchildren has disappointed us greatly. He went so far as to bring outsiders into our home to fight with us. I need to do something to protect my family, and I know that you have the resources to help."
"Our products aren't for everyone. It takes a lot of preparation and training, too,"
Roundtree replied as he shook his head.
"That's why I brought you here."
Then he hesitated for a moment before he continued.
"I've heard that Light Street Labs has an herbal pill just for this purpose."
"That's right, Mr. Williams. The effect of our new blend is quite unique. It can quickly give a jump start to someone who wants to develop their energy and focus, especially when they're in a situation like the one you're facing. However, you can only take one dose. To take more would be very dangerous," Roundtree explained.
"Do you happen to have any with you today?"
Then he added,
"My family is willing to pay any price."
Dalton Steele, bringing his men to the Williams mansion, had infuriated Randall Williams. He and his son Thomas had talked it over and decided that everyone in the family should start working on their health and fighting skills. This was part of an overall plan to dominate the families that were in charge of the business world, and not just in New York. He didn't want them to be afraid of the Steele family anymore. Roundtree gave Randall a funny look and said,
"Mr. Williams, you're taking this too seriously. It's just one little herbal pill. If you bring your family into the Myriads, you'll have all the herbal medicine and resources you need."
"What?"
Randall said as his expression changed.
"What are you talking about? The Myriads have a very dangerous reputation in the New Age underground. I've known you for years and would rather work with you and Light Street Labs directly. How could you ask us to join the Myriads?"
"Don't worry, Mr. Williams. I have news for you. 5 years ago, I joined the Myriads, and I'm no longer with Light Street Labs."
"Why did you do that?"
Randall asked in shock.
"Well, I was with Light Street for almost 40 years. Apart from some of the most basic production techniques and scientific background, what did I learn?"
Roundtree suddenly seemed agitated.
"I was the best tech specialist they ever had, but because I wasn't part of the inner circle, they never promoted me to the highest executive positions. But then, the Myriads promised me a huge sum of money and set me up with the best resources available. Compared to Light Street Labs, it's like night and day. Why would I still want to work for Light Street?"
Roundtree said excitedly as he stood up from his chair.
"Mr. Williams, As long as you're willing to bring your family into the Myriads, I guarantee that the benefits will be beyond your wildest dreams. Plus, it's the only way you'll be able to get the pill we were talking about. It's not really made by Light Street.
You're putting me in a difficult position. How could I bring my family into an organization like the Myriads?
Nonsense. These days, with all the competition, the most important thing is to improve your strength, your stamina. If you're worried about your reputation, why don't you go talk to Light Street Labs? They'll have nothing like this to offer you,
Roundtree said matter-of-factly.
In any case, as long as you don't tell anyone about joining the Myriads, your reputation will still be safe.
But this is a serious decision.
I understand, Roundtree said. But I have to leave now. Please think about the future of your family. I'll come back in a month so we can discuss this again.
Then he closed up his sample case and headed out the door. Grandpa Williams sat back down in his chair, unsure what to do next. Ever since Kevin had beaten up Merriweather and his gang, he had become the leader of the prison inmates. No matter what he did, whether he was eating or going to the toilet, there was always a large group of men following him around. This also gave Stewart a better rep because he was friends with Kevin. It was definitely survival of the fittest. After 2 weeks, Officer Emmett still hadn't found any evidence to keep Stewart in custody, so they had to release him.
Kevin, gotta go now, but I'll definitely find a way to contact you, Stewart said as he shook his hand and patted him on the shoulder.
Don't worry, I got a short sentence, so I should be out real soon, Kevin replied happily. But he thought to himself, I've been in this hole for 2 weeks just to get some information from you. It sure wasn't easy. Stewart smiled and headed out with the guard so they could finish his out-processing. The next morning, Kevin was released too. As soon as he stepped outside, he got a call from Officer Emmett. How did it go? Did you get any useful information from Stewart? Officer Emmett's words were full of expectation. No, that guy plays his cards close to his chest. I hung out with him for almost 2 weeks and we got along really well. But every time I asked him about his past, he changed the subject, Kevin answered truthfully. Nothing at all? Officer Emmett asked. She was extremely disappointed. How could her plan have failed? Kevin hadn't found out anything the department could use. Nope, nothing. The guy's very careful about what he shares, Kevin said lightheartedly. Anyway, I just spent 2 weeks in jail. How are you going to make it up to me? What's that? You didn't even complete your mission and you want me to make it up to you? Officer Emmett scoffed. Are you giving up on me already? What if I find out something about the Myriads in the future? Kevin, do you have any idea what you're talking about? It's almost impossible to find out anything about them. We've been investigating them for so long, but we haven't found out anything useful. Officer Emmett hesitated for a moment before continuing. But let me warn you, you can't have any contact with them from now on. It's too dangerous. Then she hung up the phone without any warning. Damn, what the hell was that? Kevin wondered as he put his phone in his pocket. He thought for a moment and considered calling for a ride to Williams Media. After being gone for 2 weeks, he had no idea what was going on there. Just then, a tall, lanky guy and a tough-looking man suddenly walked up to Kevin. The tall one said, Mr. Williams, our boss would like you to come along with us. Who's your boss? Kevin asked curiously. You'll know when you get there. Then he gestured for Kevin to get in their car. Half an hour later, Kevin arrived at a bar a couple of blocks from North Michigan Avenue. The men led him into a luxurious private room. I told you I'd be waiting when you got out. When I found out you were sprung today, I made arrangements at my favorite bar, Stewart said as he smiled and walked over to Kevin. You didn't have to go to all this trouble, Kevin replied with a smile. While he was talking, Kevin's eyes swept across the private room and he looked at the other dozen or so people who were there with them. He was really shocked to see such an intimidating group. How many of them are experts in herbal medicine and martial arts, he wondered. What are all of you waiting for? Hurry up and meet your future enforcer, Stewart said bluntly. They all started greeting Kevin very enthusiastically, calling him their enforcer. What's this about, Brett? Kevin asked Stewart a little hesitantly. Please forgive me, my friend.
The prison wasn't a good place for us to talk. That's why I deliberately concealed my identity," Stewart said with a faint smile.
"Oh, then who are you really?" Kevin asked, even though he already knew the answer.
"Have you heard of the Myriads?" Stewart said proudly. "I'm one of the top bosses in the organization. The other members have to call me sir, but you and I don't have to worry about that. You can just call me by my name."
"The Myriads?" Kevin said as he acted surprised.
"That's right."
Stewart put his arm on Kevin's shoulder and walked him over to the sofa to sit down.
"Since you and I are brothers now, this is your chance to put your skills to work. From now on, you'll be the enforcer of the Chicago Myriads."
"Are you sure I'm the right man for the job?" Kevin asked him guardedly. He had no idea what to think. He'd only just gotten into New Age medicine very recently, and here he was about to be put in a respected position in an underground organization that had some of the best experts in the world.
"Of course you are. You could really move up in our organization. You may not have enough experience right now, but I'm sure you'll do fine after you learn more."
After saying that, Stewart patted Kevin's shoulder and said,
"But don't worry about all that right now. Take your time."
"You're really okay with this?" Kevin asked, but still hadn't agreed.
"Of course,"
Stewart replied as he pointed at the people who were in the room with them.
"You'll be in charge of everyone here. There are also about 300 more in the building."
Kevin was overwhelmed, but he did his best to look flattered.
"There's something else," Stewart said as he reached into his pocket. "I had this ID card printed for you. It's from our parent organization, Infinitude Pharmaceuticals. No matter where you go, all you have to do is show it, and they'll know you're with us. A lot of people just know about us from our reputation in what many would call some very shady activities, but we're making great strides in cutting-edge combinations of traditional herbs and modern medicine. The market's going to explode, especially with rich and powerful clients, and we're at the forefront," Stewart explained to Kevin in detail.
"How can I resist such a generous offer?" Kevin said with a smile as he accepted the card.
"That's great,"
Stewart replied as he stood up from the sofa and walked toward the door. One of his aides entered the room with 3 beautifully dressed women, but Kevin had a feeling they didn't really want to be there.
"I've arranged for a bit of a celebration later today at the Whistler Hotel," Stewart said as he gestured for the rest of the group to leave the room. Then he turned to Kevin and said, "In the meantime, please enjoy yourself. Then come and find me when you're ready to leave."
Stewart smiled and closed the door as he left the room. Kevin looked at the women one by one. He sighed as he walked over to them and said quietly, "I had no idea they'd do something like this. You should leave while you can, and be more careful in the future. Don't let them put you in this sort of position again." The women all looked at each other in astonishment. One of them, who seemed to be the leader, stood up to speak.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.